Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Rutherford County Board of Education regular meeting. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. The pledge tonight led by Board Member Aaron Holliday.
Attention. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The board requests that you join the board in a moment of silence tonight, and particularly remembering Charles Young, the Charles Young family. Mr. Young passed away on Monday, August 27th, and he's the uncle of board member Coy Young. If you would have a moment of silence with the board, please. Thank you. We didn't move anything from any of our agendas on Tuesday night, so board, if there, I need a motion on number 4, approval of agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Blair, thank you. The second?
Second.
Mr. Hodge, thank you. If there are no comments, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Number 5 is the consent agenda, which is tab 1. I need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Mr. Young, thank you. A second? Mr. Estes, thank you. If there are no comments, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. If you would go to number 6, which is on page 7 on your agenda, it calls your attention to some visitors, and we're honored to have some folks with us tonight. And I'm going to mispronounce this name, and I apologize. But reminding our 4 speakers that you have 3 minutes, and we need to get your name and address. And if you come to the podium, and I'm reading these in the order in which I believe they were turned in. And there's a Michael Shemite? Exactly. If you would come up, sir, I would appreciate it very much. Just state your name and address when you get to the podium, and remind you about your 3 minutes. And welcome, sir.
Can I ask the board questions, or do I just merely speak?
No, sir. It's just a speaking. But,
Okay.
But
very good.
at the end of the meeting, if you wish to speak to me, certainly you're welcome.
Okay, very good.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, my name is Michael Schmitz. I live at 229 Gossett Drive in Smyrna. I am the adjacent next-door neighbor to Stewart's Creek campus. And as y'all discussed in the last meeting, and engineering department spent extensive time on, we are very concerned about even the proposition of opening up those gates for any reason other than emergency ingress and egress. As I stand before you, I am just one voice, but I assure you I speak for every voice on Gossett Drive tonight. Because of work restraints, we couldn't have as many people come out as we would like. I emailed all of y'all earlier today, and I don't want to get too much into details about the situation, but I stand before you pleading that y'all find another engineering solution to the campus traffic problem. Everybody knows there's a problem there. I know there's a problem there, but opening up our neighborhoods to that problem is not the solution. I can tell you firsthand, I have called Smyrna Police Department on people driving recklessly on campus, and they do not respond. And I have had multiple cars come down Gossett Drive trying to access the school during games, slam on the brakes, and almost hit that gate because they're trying to get in there. You will open up a nightmare to our neighborhood if this occurs. You will reduce our home values, because I can tell you right now there's going to be a plethora of homes for sale immediately following that gate opening up. We believe that the quietness, the quaintness of these neighborhoods that are neighbors to the Stewart's Creek campus are an asset to the Stewart's Creek campus. They're an asset to the security of the campus as well. Having gates open just to even let buses through, come on, everybody's having a hard enough time controlling traffic on campus as it is, with much less opening up 2 more points of headaches for the school campus. It would also probably require additional crossing guards. There's quite a bit of foot traffic that comes from Gossett Drive for those students are mine personally. And we love the fact that we can walk to school. We take pride in the fact that we can walk to school because so many other students at Stewart's Creek campus can't walk to school just because of the way it's oriented in the, with the streets and everything. But thank you very much for your time. Please find a way to steer the engineering department to find another solution rather than ruin the lives of 2 neighborhoods. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The director may want to speak, I don't know. I will just pass along to you that this item has been taken off the agenda tonight and for further study and options. Now, you may want to respond to that.
Yeah, we're going to be going back, as you said, sir, and we're going to be looking at alternative ways internally that we can address the traffic. And if there's any discussion, you will be made aware if any of that was brought up. I don't anticipate that ever coming back up, but I can't say never. But we are going to be looking at some things that we can do internally to address it.
Our next speaker is Tyson, and it's H-O-P-P-E. Hoppe. Mr. Hoppe, come forward, please, sir. If you would state your full name and your address, please, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm Tyson Hoppe at 9942 Roanoke Drive in Murfreesboro. And I'm here on behalf of the Rutherford Education Association to extend a thank you and a goodbye to Aaron Holliday and Mr. Wayne Blair. We have always appreciated people in places of influence with the public education system, people who are aware of what's going on, people who are in support of what's going on, and making incredible decisions in areas where sometimes we're not even aware of. And we know that you've been here for your terms. We know that it's probably a bittersweet goodbye in many ways, but we want to let you know that from our hearts, we really appreciate the friendship and the knowledge and your citizenship in all of this, and we want to extend that thank you and goodbye from the Rutherford Education Association.
Thank you, and well put. Our next visitor that desires to speak is Allison Bloodworth.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Spurlock and the board. I am Allison Bloodworth, a 10-year resident of 108 Foxland Drive. I was and still am one of the loudly opposed residents to opening the gate for non-emergency purposes. There are 45 thriving homes in Foxland Forest whose safety and well-being will be threatened by enabling the speed zone and the drag strip, as it's been called. The demographic of Foxland Drive has changed since the last time we visited this matter. We now have 18 houses and 4 times as many children, small children playing in yards, and women with strollers and families with strollers than we did before. So there are students that walk to and from school using Foxland Drive. It doesn't have sidewalks, but it's a safe avenue for them now because it's closed off to traffic and to buses. The risk of a child being hit by a student driver, a parent, or a bus just has me in the neighborhood gravely concerned. This type of accident, I know from personal experience, is life-altering throughout your entire life when an accident like that happens. So I watched the Board of Education work session from Tuesday night, the 28th. Some of the inaccuracies regarding the gate I did want to address. The gate does have a walk-through path, as I use it often to be able to walk through the campus. It's been there since it was built and since I've been there, and so children, they don't have to leave bikes there, they don't have to climb that fence, so that safety is not a concern. They're able to walk through that gate to get to and from the campus. Some of the inconsistencies within the bus traffic, the flow, the count, the returning buses, just was kind of confusing. So I took the opportunity today to be a mock parent and go through the system. So it's a beautiful campus. I don't get over there very often, and it is a very functioning from the 2:30 mark to the 3:30 mark. It was pretty functioning and fast-paced as it could be. So I'm very proud of the way that everyone acted and the way that some of the parents were driving. You can't always control everything, as was mentioned in the video. But I think just with further review and further study, right now I'm opposed to making the change for just the sake of change. When lives are at stake, and the reasons for making the change were kind of confusing after watching the video. Again, I'm proud of our community. My niece is a 2016 graduate. I can hear the band from my yard when they're practicing or for the football games, and I have had the opportunity to maintenance the gate by mowing it down or keeping the brush cleared away, and occasionally I do water the chickens and feed the pigs and the goats that are on campus, so hopefully I haven't made them sick. So I do object to the motion as it stands to open the Foxland Gate for the vehicle access. I do want to be part of the solution, as you are part of the solution. So I just urge us all to be vigilant daily and enforce the protocols that are already in place before creating new ones. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Michael Belden, come forward, Mr. Belden. Welcome. You state your name and address at the podium. I'd appreciate it.
Good evening, Director Spurlock, Chairman Jordan, members of the board, and friends of the Rutherford County School System. I'm Mike Belden of 115 Winchester Lane in Smyrna, literally in the shadow of the Stewart's Creek School System. We meet again on the same issue that first brought us together in 2012. Yes, this past Tuesday's proposal for opening of the Stewart's Creek campus driveways to the neighborhood streets. We in the Foxland and Gossett neighborhoods had thought this issue had been put to bed. We had all agreed that the best compromise to comply with the County Emergency Management Agency recommendations for additional emergency access points was 2 locked gates on Gossett Drive and Foxland Drive. Their recommendation acknowledged that it, and I quote here, it may be necessary to dedicate 1 entry point for the exclusive use of emergency vehicles, unquote. Those of you who were part of the discussion 6 years ago, Mr. Hodge, Mr. Young, Mr. Blair, Mr. Holliday, you probably remember the traffic study that was done at that time, and that it concluded that there would be no significant benefit to the additional access points for managing the school traffic. Yet here we are again, facing a resurrection of that old plan in an attempt to reshape it for the car and bus traffic. Never mind that the cars with exuberant youthful drivers and buses would be forced to navigate residential streets as though they were some cushy boulevards. They are not. They're narrow, shoulderless, uncurbed subdivision streets with sharp turns and no practical way of adding safe sidewalks. Never mind that the safety of all our neighbors would be put at risk, including children who walk and bike to school, families who walk their children and pets, and disabled folk who are confined to a motorized wheelchair. Never mind the additional congestion and confusion at the choke points, where additional streams of traffic with large buses would have to merge and make some sense of who goes first every day, twice a day. Can you say road rage? It's already in the vocabulary of many of our neighbors. And never mind that in the case of a true emergency, the emergency vehicles would no longer have a clear entrance point to the campus due to the congestion on these 2 valued passageways that are currently protected in compliance with the energy management recommendations. I could go on if time permitted. I fear that we are facing the proverbial camel's nose, and that the opening of the gates, if at first only for a few hours a day, would ultimately result in no gates at all. We in the Foxland and Gossett neighborhoods respectfully request that your proposal be withdrawn permanently, and that traffic management be performed in-house and on campus, and not thrust out into the neighborhoods and unfairly forcing dangers and lifestyle changes on us all. Please, be a good neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Belden. This is, okay. Number 7, facilities.
Smyrna Middle School additions and renovation change order. Same construction company has submitted an additive change order in the amount of $12,780 for additional scope of work during the Smyrna Middle additions and renovation project. The additional scope of the work consists of, but not limited to, the excavation and pouring of concrete stormwater swells located in the front and the rear of the building. This would change the contract amount for the construction of Smyrna Middle School additions and renovations from $10,207,367 to $10,220,147. Motion to approve the additive change order submitted by the same construction company for $12,780 for additional work at Smyrna Middle School additions and renovation project. This will increase the final contract amount from $10,207,367 to $10,220,147.
Comments or questions from board members for the director that we didn't ask on Tuesday, or applications, whatever? Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Blair, thank you. A second? I believe that was Mr. Hodge. If there are no further comments, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Part B.
All right, new school site due diligence. First, we'll start with site layout engineering and traffic impact study. At the request of Garrett Clardy, Goodwin Mills, Kaywood, and Perry Engineering have submitted a quote for various proposed school sites in Rutherford County for due diligence before purchase of the sites by the Rutherford County School Board. The scope of these services include preliminary site plans, zoning ordinance research, and traffic impact studies for a cost not to exceed $10,000 per site. Also, reproduction, printing, copying, overnight deliveries, and travel are included in this lump sum fee. This is a professional service. Motion to approve engineering services by Goodwin, Mills, Kaywood, and Perry Engineering at a cost not to exceed $10,000 per site as presented. This is a professional service.
Questions from the board?
Move to approve.
Mr. Holliday, thank you. A second? Mr. Estes, thank you. If there are no questions, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Number 2.
Number 2, surveying and topographical contours utility location. At the request of Gary Clardy, Brown Land Surveying Inc. and Reagan Smith Associates Inc. submitted their rate schedule for surveying of various proposed school sites in Rutherford County for proposed school buildings. The rates are attached under tab for the board's review. Due to the current workload of the surveyors, we are bringing forth these 2 different companies for approval. This is a professional service. Motion to approve Brown Land Surveying, Inc. and Reagan Smith Associates, Inc. for surveying of proposed school sites based on their current rate schedules as presented. Land surveying is a professional service.
Questions from the board? Need a motion?
So moved.
Young, thank you. A second. Mr. Hodge, thank you. If there are no questions, all in favor, please say aye. 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 3.
Geotechnical testing and environmental study. At the request of Gary Clardy, Collier Engineering Company, Inc. has submitted a proposal for geotechnical and environmental services for proposed future sites for Rutherford County schools. The not-to-exceed prices are as follows. 840 site, $16,900. 231 North site, $13,475. Christiana 1, $9,775. Christiana 2, $10,275. The breakdown for these prices are attached under a tab for the board's examination. Also attached in the tab for the board's examination are current rate schedules for Collier Engineering Company, Inc. that were requested by Mr. Lee earlier. I'm asking for approval of these sites for use of the proposed property or any changes that may take place for the purpose of expediting the purchases. These rates include proposed geotechnical, proposed material testing, and survey fee rates. These are all professional services. Motion to approve Collier Engineering, Inc. for geotechnical, environmental, material testing, and surveying fees as presented. These are all professional services.
Questions from the board? Need a motion? I'm sorry.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday. A second? Ms. Moore, thank you. If there are no Comments? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Number 4.
Number 4, appraisal and property comps. At the request of Gary Clardy, Johnny M. Sullivan, SRA, has submitted a proposal for appraisal of proposed school sites for future Rutherford County schools. The fee for an 85 to 125 acre tract will not exceed $3,000 per site. This fee includes complete appraisal report with property comps. This is a professional service. Motion to approve Johnny M. Sullivan, SRA, for a fee not to exceed $3,000 per site for proposed future school sites as presented. This is a professional service. Mr. Clardy, can I ask you a question? Yeah, come on up, if you will. I got a couple of questions. Do we always, when we're looking at sites to purchase, do we always appraise them?
I think we have bought a couple over the last 15 years that we did not have appraised, but it was very obvious that the asking price was comparable with what had been sold recently in those areas. I guess the reason we're doing these is they're kind of isolated around the county, so we want to get an idea of what they cost so that we can get our best dollar.
What's the process? This is new to me, but as far as the appraisal of a property that size, what type of services do they offer us?
Well, there's just a bunch of them. For instance, this is the one that we did for Whitworth Buchanan, and it's not a residential proposal, but it's not a full commercial appraisal either. It's kind of a hybrid between those two. The appraiser does a lot of stuff, and by the way, Mr. Sullivan, since 2007, when we had this done, which was 11 years ago, hasn't gone up on his price to Rutherford County Schools. He's still at, he was at $3,000 then, he's $3,000 now. The main thing that the appraiser does is try to determine what the actual worth of the property is. And it's related to a lot of different things. It's related to what the property could develop out as for housing, what's the best use for it, just a lot of different things. So he goes through that. Let me just read you the table of contents out of this, and this won't explain it, but it will give you an idea of what all goes on. So he explains the extent of the appraisal process in here. He goes into the scope of the investigation, the identification of the property, the types of property, purpose of the appraisal, the legal description, history of the subject project or property, function of appraisal, the city and area data, the county data, the neighborhood data, the site data, the zoning, the tax assessment, highest and best use, as I mentioned, description of improvements. Then he changes off to the appraisal mode. He does the market approach and sales comparison approach. He does evaluation on that. He does an overall analysis of the property. Then he does a cost approach, an income approach, and then reconciliation of all those approaches to put together the report, and then writes a report for approximately a 30-page report on this type of property when it's large, 100 acres, 130 acres, or whatever.
I want to ask you one last question, and I don't know if you know, you may know it. About how much time would that take to do all that, what you just...
I'm not sure. I'm sure that some of it's canned stuff that he's developed over the years, but I could see possibly having, with everyone involved, maybe 60 hours in it, in the work.
Any questions from any board member? Yes, Ms. Moore.
Already a couple of questions, and I am curious about this since it's something that
Mr. Sandvig was just mentioning that on this specific property, the county did ask us to have these appraised as well as do a traffic impact study on them before we brought them back for funding.
Excuse me, Mr. Clardy, I believe Ms. Moore has a question. Okay.
So, well, and that actually raises another one. So the traffic impact study, is that something that's going to be included in the price of these appraisals? It does strike me as being high. And I am curious as to whether or not we'd ever offered any other appraisers the opportunity to bid. I understand it's not a formal bid process with this, but...
No, I just have all the confidence in the world of Mr. Sullivan. I've been to court with him 2 or 3 times on issues that arose out of some of our different dealings and things. He's, was a great professional witness. He's very qualified. What he does for us is a lot more thorough than a $400 or $500 residential appraisal. So I'm just confident. And then over the years, I've just been able to call him up on his mobile and say, hey, I've got an issue here. There's no telling how much free advice I've gotten from him over the past 15 years, and he's always been there to help. So when I think of appraisals, I just always think of what's worked in the past.
And please understand, I'm not questioning his credentials at all, or certainly neither your judgment either. I just, it does strike me as a lot. I wonder if we've done any studies or if there's been any comparison as far as appraising a piece of property, if someone else were doing it, what that would normally cost. I mean, is it in keeping with the market norm for those types of appraisals?
Well, I've heard that commercial, residential, less than an acre, going for $500. If it's a customer that's a steady customer like a bank that's giving you a couple of weeks, it goes for $450. But a commercial would go from $3,000 to $6,000, and since this is a hybrid, I figured that would kind of be at the bottom of that range. So I'm just confident that it's a decent price, and if we have any trouble, we have an expert witness that's used to being an expert witness. I mean, he is on our team once he does the work for us. So.
Any other questions? Ms. Hodge.
You're talking about expert witnesses. When he does this, does he charge you additional for that?
For the expert witness? No, it would be extra for his court time or whatever. For instance, on the piece of property that he appraised at Eagleville that we were taking by domain, by he was paid by the attorney to go in, and of course we reimbursed the attorney, but that case went on for 11 years, and it was just strung out for a long time. So he was there at both of those court dates and stood behind what he had told us the property was worth originally, and that's what the suit was settled for.
Based on what you figured it takes him 60 hours to do this. You're looking at $50 an hour. Correct?
I would say there's probably, that's including labor, So it could be upward a little bit between 60 and $100 an hour if he's got someone typing it for him, those types of things. That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right.
I think it's for professional service, for
I'd say so. My rate's $130 an hour when I do other work other than here.
Other questions from the board, from Mr. Clardy or Mr. Sandvik? If not, I need a motion to approve number 4.
So moved.
Okay, that's a tie. Mr. Blair, I'll give you the second, okay?
Okay, that's
all right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, sir. Any comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Number 5.
Soil type and porosity for wastewater disposal. At the request of Gary Clardy, Lonnie Nord, professional soil scientist, submitted a unit price for soil testing for wastewater disposal at the proposed school sites for new school buildings. His not-to-exceed price of $50 per hour for preliminary work and $550 per acre for water resources and soil map for the final wastewater system design. We will do preliminary testing on all proposed sites to see if they are worth pursuing for future school sites. Motion to approve Lonnie Nord, professional soil scientist for preliminary and water resource soil map work on proposed school sites as presented. This is a professional service.
Comments for the director or questions? If not, I need a motion.
So move.
Mr. Young, thank you. A second.
Second.
Mr. Holliday, thank you. All in favor? If there are no questions, please say aye. Aye. Number 8, financial matters.
Board member fees. The Rutherford County Commission raised the pay for newly elected county commission and school board on August 16, 2018. This is the first increase in 20 years. The first meeting of the month will be $500 instead of $300. Other meetings in the month will be $250 rather than $150. Commission funded this change by amending $64,810 from our unassigned fund balance to cover the change to the 2018-19 general purpose school budget. The board needs to approve this use of its fund balance. This amendment will not need to be sent to the commission. Motion to amend $64,810 from our unassigned general purpose school fund balance to cover the board member fees and related benefits as approved by the Rutherford County Commission as presented.
Questions for the director? Need a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. I need a second.
Second.
Mr. Young, thank you. No questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Part B.
Donations and appropriations from fund balances. This amendment uses $56,575 in donations and $18,900 in fire insurance proceeds that have gone to fund balance accounts and new $30,000 donation from Jennings Jones Foundation to the Spectrum Program to fund the expenditures related to this $105,475. Smyrna West Alternative, $7,513 from Smyrna Rotary Club. Coordinated Health, $34,250 from Ascension Health, St. Thomas. Spectrum Program, $7,247 from the Jennings Jones Foundation. Children's Charity Fund, $7,565 from the United Way and other donors. Blackman High School Wrestling Building, $18,900 for demolition. Motion to amend, $34,250 from the account 34,585 restricted for capital projects, $18,900 from account 3465 committed for education, $22,225 from account 39000 unassigned fund balance, and $30,000 donation to related $105,475 in general purpose school fund expenditures as presented.
Questions from the board? Need a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Estes, thank you. A second.
Second.
Mr. Young, thank you. All in favor? If there are no questions, please say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
could I make a comment?
Please do.
The $7,500 from the Smyrna Rotary Club,
Yes, sir.
the Smyrna Rotary Club adopted Smyrna West Alternative 15-plus years ago. Since it is an alternative school and the students are going in and going out, hopefully going out, the Smyrna Rotary Club decided to be their PTO or fundraising arm. And I just wanted to give Smyrna Rotary Club a pat on the back. Hopefully we can get one of the Murfreesboro Rotary Clubs to pick up Daniel McKee in the future. But literally, Smyrna Rotary Club is a PTO organization for fundraising for Smyrna West Alternative.
Thank you, Mr. Blair, for the information. It's appreciated. Number 9, Rutherford County Director of Schools goals. We went over these the other night.
Yeah, we kind of had an amendment here. We kind of to align with, go back to some things that we previously had, and there was an additional goal. The first goal is Rutherford County schools will prepare students for college and career readiness by increasing the average ACT composite score by 0.3 of a point and increasing early post-secondary opportunities while maintaining a high graduation rate above 95%. Goal 2, Rutherford County schools will increase English language arts achievement to exceed the single AMO target, double AMO target, and increase value-added scores to ensure that all students are demonstrating expected growth. Students will be prepared for the next grade level expectations. Goal 3, Rutherford County schools will increase math achievement to exceed the single AMO target, double AMO target, and increase value-added scores to ensure that all students are demonstrating growth. Students will be prepared for the next grade level expectations. Goal 4, Rutherford County schools will recruit, retain, grow, and effective teachers, building leaders, district leaders to support our growing diverse student population. Goal 5, Rutherford County schools will implement strategies to ensure that all students will receive well-rounded education and will have an opportunity to learn in a safe, orderly environment. Goal 6, Rutherford County schools will engage stakeholders through our district through a series of town hall meetings. Information concerning the mission, goals, and day-to-day operations of the school system will be disseminated during these meetings. Feedback will be sought to provide opportunities to identify the strengths of the system and areas in which we can improve. Our goal is to develop partnerships and produce strong advocates for our school system. With that said, we have met. We've looked at some things that we feel like we can improve on our next meeting, and how we can get more data from our parents that come. And we look forward to that. I think it's September the 17th, is that right? Laverne Middle School. Laverne Middle School, so we'd like everyone to show up. All right, Goal 7 is another one that was added. It says the Director of Schools will assist the board in making decisions that positively impact the mission of the Rutherford County school system. Now, if we all understand the mission is we're going to prepare today's students to grasp tomorrow's opportunities. And the resources that we will use will be meeting this goal will be provided through clear communication on both parties, annual trainings, and leadership led by the board chairman. Motion to approve director's goals as aligned with the district E-plan.
Are there questions for the director on any of these 7?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the goals as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday. A second? Second. Mr. Hodge? Thank you, Mr. Hodge. All in favor? If there are no questions, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, director's update.
Oh, there was one thing I want to make. The board already knows about this, but I did meet with the city manager for Murfreesboro city government. And it's pertaining about the request to charge a $20 an hour fee for Central Magnet baseball and softball to use the fields at the sports com. We still have an additional meeting to come. One of the things that I put forth was how, first of all, 90-something% of the students that attend Central Magnet are Murfreesboro citizens themselves, whose parents are taxpayers. That we have put money into, we've actually let them use some of our facilities and waived fees for many years now. And we've also, I think it's our Rutherford County Conservation Board has actually put some money into the facilities over there. The talk with Mr. Tinsdale I'm going to go back and meet with him here soon once I collect all the information that I can in terms of what they would have paid us. And I think, and I'm not certain, but I think we can work out a compromise.
Mr. Director, thank you for doing that well.
Anything else on Director's update? Okay. Ms. Moore, anything on TLN?
Mr. Chairman, I really have nothing to report on the TLN front right now. I'm sure more to come soon.
That's a good thing.
State legislature going to meet again? Is that?
One of these days.
I look forward to that. Anything from the federal, Mr. Holliday?
I'll share these things, none of which are critical, but for the sake of information. There is an ongoing debate with the Federal Department of Education about ESSA plans that include school security. And some states are submitting plans that ask for federal dollars to be used for school security. And when you look deeper into that, it could include the purchase of weapons for school safety personnel. Now, whether or not those school safety personnel would be, as we understand them here in Rutherford County, officers of the law, or whether those security personnel would be teachers who were armed with federal dollars, is open for interpretation. But it is an ongoing debate, and I think that our board, as well as our community, should pay attention to it. Here in Rutherford County, we have a strong commitment to the SRO program. We are incredibly blessed to have that participation, and I echo again that we're celebrating our 25th year of that participation. Rutherford County has certainly led the way there. But as we see this, it will affect what the federal perspective is on security in schools. The second thing is kind of an alert, and I'm glad that our REA representatives are here this evening. There is a grant program that some teachers take advantage of called Teacher Education Assistance for College and Higher Education, the TEACH grant program. And here recently, some of those grants have been converted to loans. Now, this is not unlike a student that goes on to college and takes advantage of the Hope Scholarship. And if they don't keep their grade point average up, then they can lose their Hope Scholarship. And all of a sudden, some amount of money that was helping them to pay for college goes away because they're not fully in compliance. The Teacher Education Assistance for College and Higher Education grant program has stipulations that the teacher has to continue to register and stay in touch and stay in communication with the Department of Education, or the penalty is that grant gets converted to a loan, and the teacher then becomes responsible to pay that back. The problem is that some of these grants have been converted to loans with no failure on the part of the teacher. And now teachers are struggling to fight back against the Department of Education to say, I didn't mess up, and there's no reason for you to have converted it. And there are some 10,000 documented cases across the nation where that has occurred. With the number of teachers we have here in Rutherford County, it's not out of the question that could have happened here, and we certainly as a board want to raise that to the attention of the community and let our teachers know that we're in support of them as we would support them in making sure that their grants remain grants and they stay in compliance. The last thing is student testing. There's a case in Utah where student testing and parental opt-out is being looked at again, and I was made aware of this by a post of my fellow board member, Ms. Lisa Moore, and I just, from a personal perspective, we need to stay aware of this and echo to our parents the value of testing as well as the value of their personal stake in our educational system. The director is leading the way in engaging the public and listening to their concerns about this and opening the lines of communication. At the same time, there is a value in our students being familiar with standardized testing and excelling at the practice of standardized testing, so when they get to that very important ACT test in their later high school years, they can do exceptionally well on it, be comfortable with the standardized testing format, and accomplish the scholarship dollars that are available through that. We're certainly concerned about overtesting, and we are very much working about that. But I think that there's perspective on all sides of this issue, and I will leave that as my final federal report.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday, and obviously thank you and Ms. Moore for your service in this last year. Mr. Holliday, particularly years you've served very well on the federal level. As I assume the audience is aware, this is the last meeting for Mr. Blair and Mr. Holliday, and I believe our director has some comments to make about each one of them, an award to present, and then any of you that wish to make a comment about either one of them are welcome to do so. Mr. Spurlock.
I'd like to thank everyone for being here. You know, this position's up here, these 7 individuals, it's a tough job. I know yesterday I had the pleasure of attending the swearing in of our 2 new board members, and one of the things I said is it's a difficult job, yet you're giving back. And I think this is what has occurred. Mr. Holliday is a 2-term board member. That's 8 years. Now, in real years, the stress on is probably about 14 or 16. But I've not always agreed with him, but I've always respected his opinion. That's what it's about. It's about being able to respect one another once you leave that position and get behind it. That's it's very important. One of the things I told the new board members is, as a collective group of 7 elected board members, you won't always agree with everybody, but at the end of the day, you come together because you are representing many different people, students, teachers, administrators. You are representing them. And when you go for the commission, you develop that united front. And I know I'm excited because I know that this board right here has done this over the years. So, Mr. Holliday, if you come on up, please. Thank you, sir. Come all together or individual? All right, our next board member, I had the opportunity to meet him a long time before he became a board member. He's a Smyrna grad, which is always good for me because I'm a Smyrna grad. Not that I'm in favor of Smyrna, but anyway, my first meeting with him was I was watching him do his karate, teaching karate down at the Smyrna Town Center, if you recall that. And I'd come in and see him. He and I would strike up a conversation. I would like to think I was a little part of him pursuing the position as board member, but I know he's a three-time elected board member. It's 12 years, but he's put in more years than that prior to becoming a board member, and he's always up on everything that's going on in education. Both of these members, just like the rest of them, are pro-teachers. They believe in public education. They believe in supporting those that work with our kids daily, and they've done it, and they've showed it in good faith every time it comes up to a salary increase. They're behind you, and they've gone to bat for you. But Mr. Blair, he's a person that he never meets a stranger, very outgoing. There's many things I can say about him. He's a huge MTSU fan. That's another plus for me. And he's a strong proponent, and we're going to miss both of them. And Mr. Blair, if you come on up, please. And before we get our picture back, he told me he was going to go back to fighting. I didn't know what he meant by that, but I was kind of scared there for a while.
Thank you, Mr. Director. You want to get a picture, James, of all 3 of them after the meeting?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that'll be terrific. I don't know if the board has any comments to make or additional comments, or if so, if you'll wait a minute, I'll take my turn and then finish. The sacrifice of these two gentlemen has been immense for students and teachers, and I am not without some humor, I might add. As we've gone through the years, Mr. Holliday and myself and our wives went to dinner at the National Educational Convention in Boston, and I wish you could have been there to see the waitress's face when Aaron orders a Mountain Dew. She had no idea what he was talking about, but I don't know what he eventually, I guess he got a Coke. I don't remember exactly what he did, but he's been a good friend, and we have been to nationals together, and it's been really a lot of fun, really. Mr. Blair, my history with him goes back all the way to Thurman Francis Junior High School when he was there, and he was an excellent student. Not one of mine, unfortunately, but he was an excellent student at Thurman Francis and one of the worst Babe Ruth baseball players I've ever seen. His coach was excellent. That was me. He was also a campus policeman, which a lot of you probably didn't know, at MTSU. And he actually did not graduate until many years later, which was fairly recently, really. And it's the only time he actually got his diploma and Social Security card the same day, I think, in the mail. And Sidney McPhee, first time he'd ever given out a diploma to someone that was older than he was. But that shows you really what Mr. Blair is all about: sacrifice and never quitting anything. And I've been honored to be associated with both these gentlemen, and I think they did an excellent job. Board, you probably have things that you might want to say, and this we'll start down here and just take it away, if you wish to say anything.
Yeah, I'll say. When I first decided to run for the board, you remember strange things about each other when you're around a lot, but first person to offer any assistance to me was Aaron Holliday at the REA banquet, and I appreciate that. You know, you can't do this on your own, and with having somebody that's been on the board to help new people get the right direction to go sometimes. What you first hear as a new member, sometimes you're kind of wondering, well, what do I do? Well, you call one of the older members and ask. And then they give you their perspective on it, and you can make your decision rather well that way. And Mr. Blair has been very helpful to me, and that means, and I appreciate what both of you have done. Thank you.
I'd like to just say thank you to both of you. I've had the opportunity to work with Mr. Blair, I guess, 12 years, and Mr. Holliday 8 years. And I really enjoyed it, and I just want to thank you for everything to the board, but also the community. I know there have been times when we haven't always agreed, but I think at the end of the day, we've kept our friendships and moved on, and I've really enjoyed it. And Mr. Holliday, I appreciate your updates. I know you put a lot of effort into it. And how many years did you do it? 6 years? 7? 5. I appreciate that. Mr. Blair, I appreciate your service. Well, not only that, I appreciate both your friendship, but all the service you did at TSBA, how you did it, I don't know, but I appreciate it. And one thing I remember that when I was chairman, you were vice chair, and I enjoyed our time together then, and the roles were reversed 2 years later, and I just cherish those times. I mean, because had their ups and downs, I guess. And I'll just throw out one thing. Mr. Jordan mentioned about his episode with Mr. Holliday on convention. Mr. Blair and I were at the convention also. It's probably the worst mistake I ever made. We were in San Diego and we decided we'd catch a train to Tijuana. I'll tell you, we got to Tijuana, we never got off. I'll have to admit, Mr. Blair, I felt pretty good with him being a karate man, but the time we got back, I found out he was about as scared as I was. That was just a moment, good time we had together. So, like I said, I appreciate both your service.
I too like to thank you, gentlemen. You definitely worked diligently trying to make these schools better for Rutherford County, and it definitely shows. Enjoyed you guys being here for me to really use the sounding board for me to bounce ideas off of. Just appreciate all your input. I just wish you the best throughout your careers.
You're down.
I think everybody that's here tonight, certainly everybody that's up at these tables, and I think all of you that are out in the audience, I don't have to sell you on the fact that sitting in these seats and the things that go into it are not always easy. And they do involve a lot more work than I think a lot of people realize. And you get out of it what you put into it, just like everything else. But one thing I can say about both of these gentlemen that I've had the pleasure of sitting in between for, 4 years now for me, right? Wow. Is that I've never seen any two people as dedicated and committed to the roles that they had on this board as these two gentlemen. And both of you were so very helpful to me, being the new kid on the block, kind of like Mr. Estes, you reached out to me, and both of you, in your own ways, mentored me, and I felt like I could always turn to when I had one of those big, question marks on my head, kind of like, okay, I don't get this. And I don't think I would have come along as quickly in my role if it hadn't been for your leadership and mentorship. And I thank you both for it, and wish you all the best.
I spoke with Mr. Blair some weeks ago, and he said, "Aaron, I want the last word." And so I said, okay. I don't think it will come as any surprise to my fellow board members that I've got a couple of thoughts. I'm going to run through the finish line. Laverne High School has a total number of students that were in the EPSO program, the Dual Enrollment Academy. Last year, 325 students, 5,400 credit hours were earned. This year, 350 students will earn 6,054 hours, and 47 of those students are on track to receive their associate's degree at the time that they graduate with a high school diploma in Rutherford County. In the program that our director did on Monday evening at Stewart's Creek High School, there was a slide where he was discussing early post-secondary opportunities. It's one of the things that our system is going to be measured on in the future. More early post-secondary opportunities are happening at Laverne High School than anywhere else. I got elected from the Laverne-Smyrna area, where the Laverne educational system was struggling with its reputation. The first thing we did was open up Stewart's Creek High School. I shared with the board at that time that we needed to open 3 new schools, a reinvigorated Laverne High School and a reinvigorated Smyrna High School and a brand new Stewart's Creek High School. Well, these numbers about early post-secondary opportunities at Laverne High School certainly say that that place is on the rise. And Smyrna High School, with their new Cambridge Academy, is also on the rise. And I'm very, very proud of that as I wrap up my board my time as a board member. There were 3 things that I said a year ago that I really wanted to accomplish. Full-time status for the Coordinator of Fine Arts, and my fellow board members were gracious to support that, and we've accomplished that. I also am struck by the number of non-U.S. citizens that are in our Rutherford County schools. We don't have a choice. We educate them from the age of 3 to 22. We educate them, and we don't ask what their status is. That is the responsibility given to us by the Supreme Court of the United States. Nonetheless, we can do something about their citizenship. And as the baton is passed on the Federal Relations Network, I believe that 6 years of public education and meeting all of the U.S. citizenship requirements should get our 18-year-old students U.S. citizenship. And we should endeavor as a system to allow them to get sworn in as a U.S. citizen alongside of their graduation. And we should do that because we say how critically important a high school diploma is. And yet, how much more important is U.S. citizenship? Which one outweighs the other in the lifetime of an individual living here in the United States? Now, it can't be free and clear. I would suggest that 10 years of probationary status would accompany this citizenship, which would give you all rights except the right to vote, because we have people on probation who have committed crimes, and they lose their right to vote for a period of time. This is a proposal where Rutherford County schools can once again, I look at Chairman Jordan, be the pebble in the pond. We can create the ripples that affect the entire state of Tennessee, the entire U.S. educational environment, and the world as it sees public education. The third thing that I really wanted to accomplish was magnet schools for the north end of the county. And I'm going to spend just a minute once again leaving this case for future board members to consider. There's an amount of congestion on I-24 that is just incredible. And it means that there are a lot of people from Rutherford County working in Metro Nashville. For the last 8 years, I know this commute because it's been the commute to get me back to a board meeting. I have been the board member that has walked in at the very last minute and sometimes after the Pledge of Allegiance for our meetings. A Central Magnet student could be living 45 minutes from their home in Laverne. And if their parent is working 30 to 45 minutes into Metro Nashville, that means that mom and dad are an hour and a half away from their student in the middle of the day. Couple that with the concentration of schools in the Smyrna downtown area. Within 1 square mile, we find Smyrna Primary, David Urey, Thurman Francis schools, and Smyrna Middle School. Within 5 square miles, you add Stewartsboro Elementary, Smyrna Elementary, Rocky Fork Middle, and soon Rocky Fork Elementary. We are overpopulated in middle and high schools, and by creating a second magnet opportunity by repurposing one of these schools, we can relieve 6th through 12th grades across the county, increasing the number of seats available at Central Magnet and giving people in the north end of the county an additional opportunity. I think that impact could be wonderful. I also want to thank some very special people. Because I arrive late to board meetings, sometimes I stay late, and sometimes I'm the last one in the building, with the exception of our custodial staff. And for many years, Mr. Gary Johnson would come into this room, and he would share with me to keep fighting, to work hard, and say what was on my mind. One of our custodians, an outstanding fella that's outrun me to a final prize, but I appreciate his service and my time on the board.
I'll be a tad bit more succinct than Mr. Holliday, but great comments. Thank you, sir. I kind of got out in front this afternoon. I sent Mr. Evans basically a farewell email to all 5,000 plus members of the RCS family. And so having said that, I just want to finish tonight by saying how privileged I am to have served this county community and how honored I am to have worked with all of you over these years. You're an amazing group of professionals. You're an amazing group of advocates for our children. And when you sacrifice for our children, you sacrifice for society and a better society. Rutherford County Education District has educated several generations of my family, including my own children. And as a child of blue-collar parents with 5 brothers and sisters with a speech impediment, how different would my life be today if Rutherford County had not given me speech therapy, because my blue-collar parents could not have afforded that. So that is why I am such a strong advocate for public education and will continue, even in my private life, to be a strong advocate for public education. And I'm proud of the successes we've had in the past, and I'm proud of the successes you will have in the future. And Mr. Holliday and I leave this board with strong leadership, with an amazing group of professionals, and all I can say is thank you, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
The director and I have decided that everything that needs to be said has been said. And so I would ask the audience to wish Ms. Michaels a happy birthday on your way out. And hopefully you brought gifts. We emailed everybody. You didn't bring anything? Well, maybe not. Okay. We meet again on the 5th. Which is, what is that, next Tuesday, Wednesday? Wednesday. Okay, 5 o'clock. If there's nothing else, thank you so much. We're adjourned.